Hello, everybody. This is Circulata with Architect Time. Today I have a guest, Jacek Urbanowicz. Może wyłączyć to? Can you turn it off? Jacek? We can hear you. We can hear me, sorry.
Yeah.
It's like yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome. Sorry. So today we have Jacek, and Jacek runs Tunark, which is a really awesome catalog for choosing work, selecting projects, and basically finding teams. And today we're gonna talk a little bit with Jacek about his business and about the we can hear it again. Jacek, are you turning
How do you want to do it? Because if I mute it, then I don't know when to start.
But can you not hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah, so that's enough. You don't have to watch the live stream. It's when you turn it on, then we can't hear it. But you can hear me now, so we're good and we're live. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want me to mute? Okay.
No, don't. No, but
Okay.
If you're watching it in the same time, we're having an echo, and so we cannot hear well. Yeah.
Okay.
The whole recording is bad. Okay. Anyway, now that the technical stuff is out of the way, Jacek, tell us a little bit more about your business.
Okay. Well, tunark.org. It's a new platform. It's a new architectural platform that's created to help the community of designers, recruiters, and real estate clients. Basically, we want to reinvent architectural cataloging to enhance value-based collaboration.
Okay, and what does that mean exactly? How do you envision value-based collaboration through a catalog of work?
Well, simply put, we discovered that there are at least 4 major problems that we tackle. One of them is that it's heavily time-consuming and costly to keep your project's portfolio up to date. Secondly, it's difficult to keep your information organized. Information about your projects and portfolio, the bigger your organization is, the bigger the problem gets. And finally, it's hard to track different architectural and design trends, for example, sustainability, and whether it's across your projects or competition or trends in general in our industry. And also, we noticed that there are no effective tools tackling selection bias. When selecting a company, we base a selection on a randomness, on a word of mouth, on how much somebody spends on SEO and content marketing and other typical marketing channels. And we would like to democratize the search. And we would like to provide equal opportunity to everyone and make the search based on the content of the works. So how do we tackle these problems? We create a portfolio management platform. So for the users, designers, studios, students, any level of a designer, of an architect, really, you have something that you can create your portfolio very quickly and efficiently and easily. And later on, when it's convenient for you, you can add different pieces of key information. So this is step 1. Now, having this kind of framework, you can organize information across your projects, and then having that individually based on different studios, based on different designers, we as a community can see different trends, can really see what's happening in real time. So every project that's added, it's feeding the real-time database. So we instantly see what's happening every time in every country, everywhere in the world. So that's the big thing. And last but not least, again, like, you don't really look at the person, some kind of features or the organization. You take it aside for the time being. You really focus as a real estate client or recruiter, what are the criteria you're interested in, So you search through the projects, the contents, this key information. Again, this is the language the real estate clients speak. And when you filter, narrow down all these projects to a few ones that you're interested in, then the job is done, right? Like you just save a lot of time researching, vetting, doing interviews. This is basically how most of other industries work nowadays, and we just try to make the architectural industry and the design industry to catch up with other technologies.
This is fascinating. And what led you to discover that there is a need for that in the market and to start creating a product like this? Was there like a personal experience that pushed you to inventing a new way of cataloging architecture work?
Well, it depends how much in time I would need to go back. Well, probably because that might be interesting. What led me in the first place to go on that venture, right? Like because nobody really wakes up and just decides, okay, I want to make a platform, I want to make a tool. So I think back almost a decade ago when I was studying, I think three major events happened, and I think they were really important. And they were connecting with mindsets. So the first one was this entrepreneurial or startup mindset. I was a student of architecture, and for the first 3 years of a bachelor degree, I think university really prepares you well to understand the value of architecture, to design any type of a building, and that's great. But I realized that I didn't have a proper business knowledge, and this is something I needed to build myself. At the same time, I also was a part of ESTA organization, and that's one of the biggest student organizations in the world that lets you to travel and gain experience, exchange experience, meet a lot of people. I will tell about it a little later, but this fact made me realize when I was studying my master's that there's a lot of student organizations with a wealth of knowledge, with a great contacts, with topics and areas that you will learn about things that you want to learn in your specialty, whatever you're studying, and you actually meet a lot of people from you're leaving your bubble, right? You're leaving your architectural bubble, and you're talking with different engineers, and it's all fascinating. So all this being part of different student organizations, being exposed to them, made me realize that something that I believe started in late 90s, a new type of business, a startup, and an entrepreneurial approach, solving problems through web apps and web platforms. This is something great. It's something that started fascinating me, because you need to have a mindset where you observe surrounding world, you chat with your friends, with your neighbors, with anyone really, and you discuss different things, but you discuss it not in a way to complain, but rather to understand what's the problem, right? Like what are the problems people have, and whether there's a way to fix it, right? And you always try to fix problems. You have this mindset of seeking and figuring out, like analyzing the problems and trying to fix them. So entrepreneurial mindset, I started developing end of uni. So that was the first thing, and it just stayed with me. It's not something you can forget about it, and it's like learning how to cycle. The second event, it was a really big accident, like a coincidence, really. I was on Facebook. Also, I was a student at the time, last year of uni, and some message popped up. It turned out that Mateusz Wyrzycki, big shout out to him. He's probably one of the biggest parametric gurus in architectural industry in Europe. Well, made a lot of plugins, and I think yeah, he's one of those silent achievers with a big impact, and you know. So yeah, he was just starting creating the first like parametric architecture workshops based on Grasshopper. So the software, the visual programming language that we architects use typically, right? Like this is probably number one and the most popular one. And it was just a weekend workshop. just 2 full days. There was maybe just 20 something seats available. And I was at Facebook, and yeah, it popped up, and I got interested. And I was like, wow, what is that, right? Like, okay, I'll join. And a few minutes later, all the seats were I mean,
Cool.
it was basically sold down. Yeah, the house was full, right? Like it was gone. So yeah, I was like, wow, really, I was lucky. Wasting my time on Facebook this time, something bad led to something great. So I went to that workshop, and it blew me away, because that was my very first contact with Grasshopper and visual programming, and seeing how I can add some parameters and manipulate the geometry the way I wanted, test different things, and do optioneering of 100 potential designs, instead of statically kind of manually modeling each one of them. It was, wow, it was something crazy back in the day, more than 10 years ago. So this was actually, that was more than that. It was beginning of a programming mindset, right? Because big shout out to all the IT professionals in the world. I mean, this is a different way of thinking. It's taking the most complex problems, analyzing them to very small ingredients, and figuring out these small ingredients, and then figuring out the complex problem. That's my own personal definition of what programming is, and this kind of mindset. So second ingredient for me, entrepreneurial and then programming mindset. And the third one, and it was again connected via ESTA and with student organizations, and with us architectural students willing to travel to see architecture, and in other countries of other cultures. So this interest led me to actually travel across a few continents, having 2 3 months internships in places like Barcelona, Beirut, and eventually China, Shanghai. It just opened my mind so much. Quoting Ray Dalio, it's like radically opened my mind, and I started seeing things in a new perspective, seeing that nothing is really set. There is no absolute truth. I mean, it's everything is really relative, and there's nothing like best, right? So that's why, as Tunark, and as this startup, we want to believe that finding the right architects leads to better built environment, because there's no absolute best. For each person, for each real estate client, for each recruiter that seeks that looks for a great talent to a specific company, there is a right set of skills. There is a right set of values that they try to align. So yeah, these three events in the past, it was something that was seeded, and yeah, with time, as being designer and architect, I'm practicing architecture for 9-10 years now. Currently in Australia at Cox Architecture in Melbourne, working on skyscrapers on one of the coolest projects in the country or this part of the world. But I never stopped thinking in this entrepreneurial way. I was developing my programming skills. And one of these days, after many interviews, personal frustrations, just getting feedback from people, just observing, noticing things, I figured out that probably what we're missing is such platform. That there's obviously a lot of websites, there's lots of apps, and as community we keep making new things all the time. But something that would really bring this data-driven mindset, more transparency, democratized search to architecture would be exactly it. And you can always wait until someone will do it for you, or you can do it yourself. So together with my friend of many years, Krzysztof Shitnik, Chris, who is a super talented professional web developer, recently deployed a website for 1.5 million users. We created TuneArch. So it's a It's a new platform that I just highly recommend it, and invite anyone to check it out themselves.
Brilliant. So tell us specifically about some of the problems that Tunark solves. We know that on one hand, there is this whole issue of recruitment. Recruitment in architecture is very expensive. Finding the right talent isn't easy. And also maintaining the talent within the practice is not easy. And I think that a lot of mistakes along the way that happen is because of people matching themselves, and perhaps not based on values, but just the name of the company, or first impressions or whatnot. And that perhaps there is a real need in the industry to actually create a more authentic search in which practices will be searching for staff members, and again architects searching for practices to work for based on certain values, or deeper values than just the name, or the experience that they can get there. So elaborate a little bit on that concept of recruitment alone, and how Tunark is specifically tuned with algorithms to help people much better.
It's an interesting what you said about the brand. Well, everybody's working on their brand, and it's something extremely important, interesting to nurture, to maintain. But I think the future of search, and you can take it to choosing the best political candidate, choosing the best doctor, choosing just best anyone for you. So again, somebody very subjective best, which is let's call it the right person, is not really looking at the brand. It's not really looking at whole, how you wrap it, but really looking under the hood, really looking inside. So imagine that as a client, as a recruiter, you look on all these websites, and typically websites try to reflect your practice in a best way, and sometimes it's more successful, sometimes it's less, and I think sometimes even problem of mixing architecture, which is the process of envisioning a design and going towards eventual construction, right? And that's what we architects are best at. With a website, it's becoming more of a graphic design, and same with portfolios. If most of architects, they create their own PDF portfolios, and PDF portfolio tends to be a booklet, an ebook, some kind of digital version of a book, and the layout of it, well, it's part of it, right? Like nobody just drags and drops a couple of images and descriptions, and it's something that takes a lot of time and a good skill, and that's something that takes, unfortunately, a lot of attention, right? So instead of looking at the contents, instead of looking at hours and hours and weeks and months of someone's work and the true nature of philosophy, I think Moshe Safdie was talking about this truth, right? That it's the ultimate beauty. And I think the truth is this, that the contents of the projects, people tend to look on the form, the wrapping, the layout of a PDF portfolio, the layout or graphics of your website, the effects on the website, and it takes unnecessary attention, and maybe it impacts the decision making of a recruiter or real estate client. So obviously, if it's done well, and it's not for me to judge, but I would say it's probably less times done very good than typically, then okay, then that might push the needle for you or in your organization, right? But if it's done bad or it's neutral, it's not really working on your benefit, right? It's not really something that's going to help you. Maybe that's something that's going to prevent you or make you lose the opportunity. So long story short, we're taking all of this away, right? Forget about the layout. That's not important, because in a typical catalog of anything, right? Take a paper-based architectural catalog, or take some furniture catalog, take any type of catalog, and that's why we're using that word, because that's something very convenient for people. It has a consistent, simple, normal layout, very comparable, so they can compare things, and that's the convenience, right? And that's a additional plus. But layout is we're taking it away. What we focus on is this key information. We focus on data. We focus what the projects really stand for, right? What do they consist of? What are those little ingredients behind? So images, short descriptions, but keeping it brief, because nobody really spends hours and hours on reading any page on the website right now, right? We're in a very fast-paced culture right now, so keeping things brief is good. And then focusing on this key information, focusing on data, I think that's really what's like inside the box, right? Not how it's wrapped, what's inside the box. And basically that will help to, first of all, compare potential candidates, understand, comprehend different options, but at the end will really let you understand what are you dealing with, right? What's the proposal? What's the project all about? And I think this is the key of what we're focusing on and what we're providing. Well, I mean, it's not even we, because what we created is a framework. It's a management platform. So we just keep it working, and you actually come in and you're in charge, right? Every user is in charge. It's a community-driven platform. So it's what the content are you providing? Whatever you're gonna provide, you're gonna impact how this website looks like. What are the data charts or any information, trends, everything. It's gonna be plotted based on your input. So it's very simple, very straightforward, very honest, and seeking the truth. That's what we're after.
Mm-hmm. Sounds brilliant. And tell us a little bit more about the actual search. So, for example, how is the experience of a company recruiting for a position? How do they search for the adequate, accurate client? And what are the criteria there? Employee. And what are the criteria there?
Well, employee is one thing, and I think employee, it's probably something that's going to be our focus later on, because looking for an employee is being probably a big medium organization. Currently we mostly have customer interviews, user interviews, and focusing on small organizations and helping them in the first place. And it's just bringing their portfolios online, bringing their portfolio, bringing their work, focusing on what's really special, what's their special value that they provide. And hopefully with time, medium and larger organizations will come on board as well. And therefore, looking for employees will come in. So right now we're more focusing on really, rather than helping to find employees, is actually helping to find architects. So focusing on a small scale, investors, clients looking to build a house, a small retail, commercial, and looking for studios to execute that. And now how they do it? Well, I think that's the key. Most of architectural platforms out there right now, the data-driven ingredient is only focusing on, I don't know, roughly 3, 4, maybe 5 different fields. Maybe building typology, maybe country or city. Yeah, maybe. I mean, these are typical, right? Like this is probably only it. We are right now providing 20, 23, actually getting close to 30 after adding a few different filters. So we split it into 4 different categories. First category is, let's call it features. So different type of features, such as obviously, building topology, but also what's the fire resistance, what's the climate, context, material use, official style, descriptive style, sustainability. Are there sustainable strategies? What's the CO2 and carbon footprint? What are the green certifications of that project? And so on and so forth. So these are so-called features, measures. So it's focusing on what's the site area, footprint area, total area, the volume of the building, height of the building, number of parking spaces, slope of the site, right? Like the front of the width of the site, right? Like really, as a practicing architect, I know what are those ingredients that we operate with, and what are the really key pieces of information that anyone would be interested at, and that's what we're adding, right? So not the general things, but getting more into detail. Okay, the third category would be essentials. So country, city, design year, also also the state, the phase of the structure. So whether it's under development, it's a construction phase, it's a concept. So all those construction phases. And the fourth category would be a special thing. We're trying to talk about more indigenous architecture, or indigenous art-inspired architecture, flood-resistant houses or bushfire houses. So focusing on this type of architecture that solves real problems and that copes with the climate change, with anomalies in weather occurring more and more around the globe. And this is just a start, right? Like we will keep adding more. This is what we're finding that our users and the clients really are interested in. And we're very happy. And this is, the early stage of the startup that we're at. So we're very happy and open to include more and more search fields that people are finding useful, practical, and they're interested in. Additionally to that, we have the sorters. So all of the things I said, you can filter it out, but then you can sort by number of views, but the date it was added. I think also we have all different types of currencies and metric and imperial system. Just to be clear about that, it's set up to be global, and we don't have any limitations.
Brilliant. And so all this helps clients come together with architects.
Yeah, because through TuneArch you start a conversation. We're allowed to contact one party contacting the other and taking conversation there. So we simply want to help you to save time and to find the right person for you. Whether you're looking for again an architect that will design your house, whether you're looking for an employee, the right person. And when you look for someone, you look through their work. And I think that's what's fascinating and really a novelty online.
Brilliant. That's so interesting. So for everyone who hasn't yet, just check tunearch.org and start a profile, upload your work. Maybe you find a client. Jacek, where else people can find or contact you if they would want to get more information? Do you have a contact page on TuneArch, or maybe to find you directly on LinkedIn?
I think it's best to find me directly on LinkedIn. It's Jacek Urbanovic. Easy to find me. We have also a tunearch.org profile on LinkedIn as well, so it's additional profile. You can also check Instagram, TuneArch Official. That's our tag. But really the best way to contact us is through tunearch.org, and there's a contact form. Happy to take it from there.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jacek, for joining. For everyone who's listening, TUNARC is sponsoring this year's Disrupt Symposium, which is a 5-day virtual event that is organized all about the business and the topic of business of architecture. We are taking a unique take on that topic by inviting large architecture firms, but specifically people that run departments such as communication departments, branding, marketing, business development. So therefore, not all architects, but people that are running the business side of these big companies to come and share their experiences and their point of view on how the business is run. And what's very unique about this approach is that even though those practices have very great names and they're very recognizable, such as SOM, Gensler, UN Studios, Hadid Architects, in fact, the issues are happening between, for example, executing pay, running your financials, communications, risk mitigation, and all that stuff. It happens for big firms and small firms. And if it doesn't happen right now, it certainly happened to them in the past, and they found ways in which they navigated through these issues. And what's really interesting in business is that business is system based. So we have all these different systems that we can learn from and apply into our own businesses. Therefore, even though we're inviting to stage all these big companies, we still have that sort of very approachable topic and solutions that we're discussing within the big event. Okay.
Thank you,
Yes,
Sarah. We are very
very,
excited about this
it's
round.
very, when I hear my voice, I can't. It's really, you have to turn it off.
Okay.
There we go. Brilliant. Okay. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Great to be here. And yeah, have a good night, everyone here in Australia, and have a great day in Europe. Hope you enjoyed it.
Excellent. Thank you.